2025 Critérium du Dauphiné here in Issoire. And you'll remember this town because it was 2 years ago when Pello Bilbao won that emotional victory for Gino Madar in the Tour de France. Well, we're in that Tour de France lead-up race, the Critérium du Dauphiné, and the riders want to make their mark here ahead of the Tour starting on July 5th in Lille. And today, well, it's Jonathan Milan who's going to be racing his first Tour de France this coming July, leading Lidl-Trek in the sprints. They're going with him, the tall Italian, not from Lombardia, not from Milan, but from Friuli up in the northeast of Italy. So today was an important day for Milan to pull off that victory to show he's ready to lead the team into the Tour de France. And also I want to take note of a few other teams and riders talking about heading towards the Tour de France. But let's talk about this stage. 204 kilometers, a long one out there, dominated by an escape. First a solo rider, then we had 4 riders up the road, and we had a bit of a scare there for a moment. A Volkswagen, a Beetle, nearly drives onto the course, scares the riders. We could hear the disc brakes breaking, the car horn honking from behind, I think, the race official car and from the Beetle itself. Confusion for a moment that could have turned a lot worse than what it was. Thankfully, the car realized there was a race happening at that point. The escape continued. They survived that, but they couldn't survive the big climb of the day. Around about 60 kilometers out, we had this Bourron climb, and it was the major climb of the day. And all day as it was, well, we had the sprint teams, Lidl-Trek, who was working for their man, Jonathan Milan. We had Alpes and De Koenig, who was going to be helping out Mathieu van der Poel. We saw a lot of the time on the front today was the GC teams, Visma Lease bike for Jonas Vingegaard and Matteo Jorgensen. I think they're co-captains here. Also, Tadej Pogacar's team, UAE Emirates on the front. Tadej Pogacar in the yellow today, and I can confirm he's no longer in the yellow because at the end of the day, well, we're going to get to that first. Those teams are on the front. No major attacks come over that climb, but we do see some interesting developments there on that climb with Jonathan Milan. He's a big boy. He has a hard time getting his frame up these climbs, and we wonder how he'll do in the Tour de France when there are so many of those stages that involve tough climbing before we get to a sprint finish. Today, he proved, well, the team proved he was going to be ready because the team dropped back in numbers. The red, yellow, blue Lidl-Trek team riding for Milan, making sure he was up there to the front to get over the climb, to survive that and down. I was a bit surprised we didn't see other teams like Alpecin really trying to drill harder and to put Milan further into the hurt box. We also saw Magnus Cort Nielsen and Matteo Trentin off the back as well. Down that, we saw Red Bull a little bit putting on the pressure on our man Milan, who's the favorite sprinter coming into this 2025 Critérium du Dauphiné. That was okay. The escape was cleared up. Then we had this final climb, the Nonette climb, and that one was special for Romain Bardet. Tomorrow's Romain Bardet day. This is his last race, the Frenchman. Tomorrow we're right around his territory. Well, this climb he knows well, the Nonette day, and he chose it around about 15 kilometers to go to launch an attack solo. And I was saying to my colleagues, no, this is not going to work out. This is just an attack for the TV, and it turned out to be that way. There was no way he could hold off these sprinter teams behind. But wait, do you remember the first stage of the Tour de France last year when Bardet and his teammate went away? He won the stage, took on the yellow jersey, but today it's not happening. And tomorrow there's going to be more celebrations for Bardet. He'll have his chance again to do something. The sprint teams, they pick him up and they lead in. Is Trek, Lidl-Trek. Robert Standard does a great job of putting Fred Wright into position right behind Jonathan Milan as we get into position. Lidl-Trek through that last left-hand bender there. The boys were leading out 3 of them and then just one. It was Simone Consoni, the Italian, doing the lead-out job for Jonathan Milan, putting him in position, leading him right to the line. Mathieu van der Poel came around Cassoni, worked his way up to the front, but we could see Van der Poel still coming back from this wrist injury, doesn't have the strength to take on the tall Italian, Jonathan Milan, pulling off sprint victory right ahead of Fred Wright. Congratulations for the British rider of Team Bahrain Victorious. And Mathieu van der Poel, who's looking on fire, taking the green jersey, the green points jersey after his placing yesterday and after his placing today, and showing he's improving on form as we go towards the Tour de France. Remember I said I want to talk about those riders and the teams heading towards the Tour de France. Well, he's the other one behind Jonathan Milan. He's picked up victories in the Giro d'Italia, shown he's capable on home roads, and the team's going to take him over to France to do its thing, because Mads Pedersen was the shining star in the Giro d'Italia this year, picking up the stages, 4 of them, and the Ciclamino purple jersey. And remember, I said I wanted to talk about the teams as they're heading towards the Tour de France. Keep a note of Remco Evenepoel's team, who maybe is not the strongest Tour de France team as he's going to be heading towards July. UAE, Visma, showing strong, showing ready to lead their leaders in the Tour de France. A little bit of a skirmish there between what we saw with Per Strand-Hagens of Team Visma and Nils Pollitt, really giving him the elbow over there on the right-hand side. We can see the tension, we can see the aggression is building, not just in the Dauphiné, but as we head towards July 5th and the Tour de France. And then we're wondering, Pogacar, well, he's now on equal time with Jonathan Milan, so how does he lose the yellow jersey? Well, Milan yesterday finished 28th, and today Tadej Pogacar finished 40th position, so it goes on placings. They add up those placings, whoever is highest placed, they gets the yellow jersey because we're equal on time. So it's Jonathan Milan on top for stage victory, on top with the yellow jersey at the end of stage 2 of the 2025 Critérium du Dauphiné.